morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. Thanks for joining today's webinar, Aligning, Automating, Winning, How Dealertrack's Modern DevOps Toolchain Maximizes Visibility for Their Teams. Our featured speaker today is Daniel Russo, Scrum Master, Production and Platform Engineer with Cox Automotive, formerly Senior Manager, Platform Engineer of Dealertrack. Dan has over 10 years of experience in streamlining operations, architecting solutions, and driving culture change. Joining him, we have Devin Cheevers, Product Marketing Manager at New Relic. Devin's super passionate about mobile and analytics and has been working in the space for 10 years. We also have Abbas Haider Ali, Chief Technology Officer of xMatters. With over 16 years of experience, Abbas is responsible for evangelizing the adoption of communications-enabled business processes and has worked closely with more than 400 global enterprises and IT organizations. Last but not least, we have Michael Lorciella, Director of Business Development at Atlassian, where he focuses on developing integrations that further Atlassian's growth with IT and business teams. Before we get started, there's just a few housekeeping items we have to go over. First, today's webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be sent to you shortly after the presentation. There will be a live Q&A at the end, so please submit any questions you may have throughout the presentation. Last, there's a brief survey at the end, so please take the time to give us your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Now I'll hand it off to Daniel to kick off the presentation.
Okay, thanks a lot. I wanted to start by welcoming everybody and thanking you all for joining. So let me tell you a little bit about our company and give you some visibility into what it's like working for a smaller DevOps team as part of a much larger organization. As you can imagine, there are a lot of challenges to navigate as we grow our team and our technology stack within our digital business. Cox Automotive is transforming the way the world buys, sells, and owns cars with industry-leading digital marketing, software, financial, wholesale, and e-commerce solutions for consumers, dealers, and manufacturers, and the overall automotive ecosystem worldwide. The organization is part of Cox Enterprises, a privately held American company based in Atlanta, Georgia, founded way back in the late 1800s. Cox Automotive itself was spun off from Cox Enterprises in 2014, and Dealertrack joined the Cox family of products in 2015. You may know some of our brands: AutoTrader, Dealer.com, Dealertrack, where I'm from, Kelley Blue Book, Mannheim, Next Gear Capital, The Auto, X-Time, and a host of other brands. The automotive branch of the company is massive. We have 33,000 team members in more than 200 locations, and we partner with more than 50,000 dealer clients, as well as most major automobile manufacturers. To give you an idea of the scope here, Mannheim, which is our live auction and digital remarketing branch, sells over $50 billion worth of vehicles annually. Yes, I said billion with a B, while 73% of all car buyers use AutoTrader or Kelley Blue Book. So let me give you a little more information about my group, Dealertrack. We provide integrated technology solutions for the retail automotive industry. Dealertrack's products include dealer management systems, fixed operations, CRM, sales and F&I, and registration and titling. Dealertrack solutions and services are designed to make workflows more efficient, transparent, and profitable. Our credit network connects over 22,000 car dealerships with roughly 1,600 lenders, financing 45% of all cars sold in the U.S. In fact, 75% of all car transactions touch our systems in some manner. Let me give you a breakdown of how our team is structured and how we use our tools. Supporting the unit from the technology side are three teams: software engineering, infrastructure, and production engineering, which is my team. The software engineering team builds the products our customers use every day, while my team provides the tools and platform that drive their productivity. Our mission is to empower teams within the organization to make timely, informed decisions with respect to stability and scalability by designing simple and scalable solutions to complex problems that are well-defined, robust, and easy to use. We partner with internal customers to understand problems, develop solutions, and anticipate needs. We also support systems health and availability across all of pre-production and production environments. Okay, my group uses Agile Methodologies to manage our workload. We have 5 Scrum teams that focus on software engineering, feature support, environmental support, and platform initiatives. Our operations intelligence platform includes JIRA for incident, problem, and change management, Hipchat for team communications, New Relic for APM, synthetic, and browser monitoring and alerting, and xMatters for coordinated, targeted communications. Now, in the course of our work, we face three big challenges. The first is adapting to the change brought about by our adoption into the Cox Automotive family of products. We need to respond to higher level changes in the business. Our products are becoming more and more interconnected. There are interdependencies between not just Dealertrack applications, but now across other Cox applications as well. Second, the needs of our business are ever changing. These are driven by movements in the industry, as well as customer feedback. We need to respond quickly to these changes. Our team is very small compared to the software engineering side of the house. However, we cannot afford to be a bottleneck. We are expected to do more, faster, and with higher quality. Our platform needs to be self-service in order to increase velocity. Finally, we're always looking for ways to improve our visibility into our systems, to proactively respond to issues before they impact our customers, to stay ahead of the curve with regards to capacity, and to take the vast amount of information at our disposal and turn it into valuable knowledge. But we had a number of monitoring tools that were used independently with various methods of notification and reporting. We didn't have the ability to correlate issues across our systems, leading to extended downtime and alert fatigue. Furthermore, there was an ever-growing community of parties who needed to stay connected with product availability notifications as interdependencies expanded. There were rotating responsibilities for our cross-functional Scrum teams, and this resulted in communication breakdowns and significant administrative overhead maintaining all those groups and rotations. Finally, major incident notification, which I'll get into later, was very time-consuming and clunky. We had one tool for conference bridging, another tool for mass notifications via phone, and yet another tool for email notification. Issue tracking was problematic as well, with multiple tickets being created and updated manually for each event. During these major incidents, we would have multiple business and management team members requesting updates as they joined the technical bridge. Like, the bridge would open up, they would dial in and say, hey, what's going on? What's the update? We would have to stop and provide the same update over and over again. In the meantime, we needed to get the technical people troubleshooting the issue in a quiet place where they could work the issue without external noise. In summary, we needed to build a broader suite of solutions that provided greater value to our customers. We needed technology to help us make this happen. We needed a one-stop shop and tools that could serve multiple purposes. Okay, so from a production engineering perspective, is the environment healthy? Are we scaled for capacity requirements? As a software engineer, is the code good? How is it performing? In pre-production, what is the impact of a specific release in dev and UAT? What about load testing? All of our teams needed to speak the same language and have the same visibility. We needed to reduce time to resolve issues for our business as well as the greater organization. So to face these challenges, we chose New Relic to provide application performance monitoring, synthetic monitoring, and alerts, giving us greater visibility into how applications are performing. We chose Hipchat to collaborate more effectively. JIRA, including Service Desk, allows us to tie incidents to problems and sometimes to changes. xMatters forms the backbone of our communications, targeting the right people at the right time with relative ease. So let's dive into each tool. Starting with New Relic. New Relic's suite of tools gives us incredible insight into how our applications are performing. We use synthetic checks to simulate transactions through our system. Using data from these checks or actual user experience, we can drill down and troubleshoot via the APM module to see where latency or errors are occurring, whether it be at the code, database, or server level. The browser plugin gives us even more visibility into performance from the actual user's browser perspective. To tie everything together, the alerts portion of New Relic helps us manage alerting easily. But the true power in these tools is the synergy you can achieve by using the various interconnected modules all in one easy-to-use interface. Next, Hipchat. Hipchat is, to be frank, where we get work done. Our teams are distributed across the office, the country, and even the world. Teams collaborate in rooms dedicated to their Scrum teams. Ad hoc rooms are spun up to address challenges on the fly. Operations teams monitor rooms integrated with our monitoring tools, proactively responding to issues as they come in. Tickets can be shared and managed via an integration with JIRA directly in Hipchat. Speaking of JIRA, we use JIRA for all of our ITSM needs. Incidents of all severity are tracked within JIRA. Our problem management team uses these incident tickets to address recurring incidents as problems, or even major incidents for that matter, in the problem management section. The change management module provides the workflow for the review and approval of all changes within our group. No changes are made without going through JIRA. JIRA is also where we manage our product delivery. So themes are created and broken down into epics. Those epics are created into stories, and all of those stories go into a common backlog. All of our Scrum teams pull from the backlog into their sprints managed on their project board within JIRA. Defects are managed here as well. Product owners and Scrum Masters have visibility into how a sprint is going and can easily track metrics like velocity and burn down charts. At the end of the sprint, we can even create a retrospective page directly in Confluence with one press of a button. Pretty powerful. Finally, JIRA Service Desk allows us to quickly address break-fix issues or common repeatable tasks using a workflow, all the time making sure we meet our internal customer SLAs. Now, what's really cool is the ability to link tickets from various modules, for instance, incident, problem, change, project, what have you, together. We can now look in one ticket and see the status of all related tickets that are either blocking or being blocked by that ticket. We can link tickets in Confluence as part of our knowledge base. We can also send an issue that was maybe improperly created in the service desk to the product backlog as a feature request. Finally, xMatters. xMatters is the communications hub. It receives notifications from all of our various systems, such as New Relic, and routes them to the right team at the right time. Our Scrum teams rotate on-call and BAU responsibilities. During this rotation, it is that team's mission to make sure our systems are healthy and available. xMatters rotation and escalation capabilities are robust and easy to use. Teams can manage their own policies. They can also easily designate a fill-in if they won't be in for any reason, such as vacation, a sick day, or going to a conference. The EOC, or NOC, as some of you may call them, also utilize xMatters for major incident notifications. Through a nifty integration with JIRA Incident Management, notifications are created and targeted based upon the criticality and product they select within JIRA. No more looking in multiple places for who's on call and how to reach them, which, by the way, are frequently out of date, and no more utilizing multiple tools to manage an outage. xMatters is the one-stop shop. So let's put the pieces together. How do we leverage these tools to streamline our processes? Today we'll look at two examples. One, a standard incident. The other, a major incident. Now, just to clarify, a major incident is any issue in the production environment that causes a partial or complete loss of functionality for our customers. So we'll start with a standard incident, right? An alert is generated, let's say, for a front-end web server that has failed its health check. It's part of a farm, and it's removed itself from rotation, so there's no customer impact. However, we are operating in a degraded state. The alert for this is sent to xMatters. xMatters receives the alert, and using the host name, targets the on-call support Scrum team primary contact. Now let's say the primary contact receives the alert, but is working on a higher priority issue. Through one press of a button, that person can escalate the issue to the backup. They don't need to know who the backup is. It's not their concern. They press a button, goes directly to the backup. Now the backup engineer receives an email notification, because that's what he's set up in xMatters as his primary method of communications for lower priority issues, and he accepts the issue. A ticket is created in JIRA Service Desk to track this BAU task. Now, he's not as familiar with this specific server as the primary, right? But the primary is busy. So the secondary can actually ping the primary in Hipchat for guidance without actually interrupting the day. Both of them are able to see the details regarding the JIRA ticket directly in Hipchat, so they're speaking the same language, and they're able to quickly triage and resolve the issue together. A story is then created in JIRA and added to the backlog to put a long-term solution in place. And this story is linked to the original service desk ticket, which has all the supporting details. Back to normal operations. All right, so how about a major incident? So let's say an alert is generated regarding a new Relic synthetics test that is failing. Right? This test is simulating a critical business transaction. So our EOC or NOC receives this alert via xMatters, and they understand that it's a critical issue. They open a major incident JIRA, and they select the criticality and the impacted product. This information is passed directly to xMatters, where an event is automatically created. Subscriptions that match the event criteria fire off, targeting production and software engineering, as well as product, marketing, customer service, and management teams, and anyone else who is subscribed for that specific product at all. Technical teams receive one set of conference bridge information, what we call our technical bridge, and everyone else who doesn't actually need to be working on the issue receives another bridge called the management bridge. This lets the people who need to resolve the issue do so in relative peace. Everyone is notified via phone call and is able to join the bridge directly from the call. That's one of the favorite features that I hear all the time, is that typically what will happen is you'll get a phone call and it'll tell you you need to dial into a bridge, or you'll get an email, and now you have to write down the conference bridge number, write down the meeting code, and try to dial in. When they get this call from xMatters, by pressing one button, they are sent directly into the conference bridge, which is really powerful. A corresponding email and push notification are sent as well, which includes the link to a Hipchat room, which has been created just for this event. So now technical teams jump into Hipchat and begin collaborating to resolve the issue. They all open New Relic immediately, because that's where they know to go, starting with synthetics, because that's where the alert was received, and they check the check that is failing. From within there, it can link them directly into the APM portion of New Relic. In this specific instance, it's evident that a database call is taking too long to respond. The database team is on the call and in Hipchat, and they're seeing the same thing that our production engineering team is seeing. They dive in and they resolve the issue. After things die down a bit, the problem management team opens a problem ticket in JIRA for long-term remediation. The original incident is linked to this problem ticket, including the Hipchat dialogue that happened in the room, as well as the xMatters reporting, which is powerful, such as who called in when, who declined, how frequently updates were sent, what was contained within the updates, and when the issue was resolved. This is really important information to our EOC. Armed with this information, teams are ready to ensure this issue won't happen again. So this took a lot of work to get done. It didn't happen overnight. It took time. Was it all worth it? I mean, emphatically, yes, it was worth it. By automating communications between tools and increasing visibility into performance, we dramatically reduce time to resolve and restore service to our business partners. Our streamlined monitoring processes led to smaller overall business impact of both P1 and P2 technology incidents. Additionally, automated processes and information flows put power in the hands of our people and helped cross-train them for continuous improvement. So looking forward to the future, what are we looking to do this year here? The first thing that's in the front of our minds is adoption and integration with Status Page IO. So for those of you who don't know, Status Page is a tool that provides quick and easy visibility about the health and availability of your applications and underlying components for your end users. So what we want to do is integrate our monitoring tools as well as xMatters to update Status Page dynamically. This will be a one-stop shop for anybody who's experiencing an issue. Before they open a service desk ticket, they can quickly go to Status Page and see that the issue they're about to report has already been reported, and they can get a very quick update as to who's working on it directly. That information is fed from xMatters with the person working on the issue. We also want to take automated response to alerts. This is beginning the road to self-healing components, if you will, by having some alerts that are triggered run predefined jobs in our runbook automation tool and report back on the results. All right, so self-healing network, maybe there's an issue with a server, it's taken out of rotation automatically via the rundeck automation tool. Services are restarted, tested, and added back in when successful. And all we get is a notification that it actually happened. Additionally, we want to implement bi-directional communication. We want to allow our engineers to take action via xMatters responses beyond simple accept, decline, and escalate actions. We want to give them the ability to, say, trigger a job directly from the xMatters notification when they receive it, or maybe acknowledge an alert for a period of time when they know that it's maybe scheduled maintenance that's going on, right? There's no need to go into the tool, take a look, you know there's maintenance. By clicking a button, maybe silence those alerts directly from xMatters. We want to improve our quote-unquote chat ops, allowing our teams to trigger xMatters communications directly from Hipchat. And finally, we want to implement a strategy around monitoring cloud applications and microservices. As these technologies become more pervasive, we're going to need to leverage our existing monitoring toolset to effectively monitor services or components that are here 1 minute and gone the next by design. So as you think about the things we discussed today, here are 5 things I hope you take away with you. And just to set this up, they are purposely not technical. The first, work on your process first. Tools are helpful, but they can't make up for poor process. If your process is solid and well thought out first, the tools will bring you that much further. Next, start small. Don't try to monitor everything at once. Don't try to integrate everything at once. Incremental change and measurement is always best. Know how you'll measure success before you'll begin. What determines the success of your plan? How will you measure it? What is the definition of done? These are important things to think about before you go in, because that's the only way to measure if you've achieved what you set out to do. When tool and platform building, keep self-service in mind and open up access as much as possible. Your team can't do everything. Keeping self-service in mind as you build your platform not only removes you or your team as the bottleneck, it drives adoption by giving a users a stake in the game. Before you know it, they will be building things you couldn't even imagine. Finally, be transparent in your efforts. Provide frequent, honest updates to your stakeholders, management, and customers. Demo frequently instead of when you're done. The feedback you get along the way as you demo your product will shape and change your solutions for the better because you'll be designing what your customers want. That's all I have. With that, I'll pass it off to Michael from Atlassian.
Great, thanks, Dan. That was an amazing overview and some true best practices. So at Atlassian, it's pretty simple what we're about, right? We're all about team collaboration. And when there's an incident, it's exactly what Dan said in his talk. What's the most critical thing is about getting the right information in front of the right people so that action can be taken with an emphasis on speed and accuracy. And that's why we're really excited about how our products, JIRA Service Desk, Hipchat, and Confluence, and many others, work so well with the tools from both New Relic and xMatters. And really what the team at Cox Automotive has done is extremely innovative, and they really deserve their proper credit because they were, in fact, the inspiration for xMatters and Atlassian to start working more closely together to really build a tight integration that enables our customers to do more. So it's about bringing JIRA Service Desk and Hipchat into the fold. And then, as Dan alluded to as well, with our recent acquisition of StatusPage, we've even decided as well to work that into the overall integration. So really what it's all about is it's about, first enabling that alert from New Relic to get into JIRA Service Desk. And then what's key is now that we have that powerful information from New Relic that there's an issue, it's about empowering the team to effectively communicate. And this is where Hipchat is that powerful tool, as Dan mentioned as well. And what makes Hipchat even better now for these type of triage situations is that Hipchat supports multi-party group video, and it can just bring a team together in a much more rich way to really help people get to that resolution. And communication, it's important to remember that it's not just about with the team and internally, right? When there's an outage or an incident, your customers are, it's vital to keep them informed as to what's going on, and that's where StatusPage comes into play. So with the amazing work that the team at xMatters has done, you can seamlessly from your xMatters app update your status page and keep your customers closely up to date, because during an outage, transparency is critical in really everything. So it's definitely a great solution. We really are excited about it. We encourage you to check it out. It's currently up on the Atlassian marketplace. And with that, I'd like to give it over to a boss, and he can talk more about it and all the great work that his team has been doing with Atlassian and other great partners. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike, and Dan, nice job in covering all the cool stuff you guys have been doing on the team. One of the really interesting things that you'll hear kind of Dan talk about that are kind of little subtle points, but the organization he's part of a very large company. So when you hear about transformations and running operations and technology management in an agile fashion, that's no small feat. And really a key part of making that happen, as with any DevOps transformation that you do, even at a pure software company at smaller scale, it's really all about automation. And what you'll hear Dan talk a lot about is how they've integrated all these different systems together. And that's really the key component that makes all this possible. So it doesn't matter whether you're looking at an infrastructure tool or security system or any of those components, all those things have to be able to exchange data with each other. And really the role that xMatters plays, as Dan described, is really where automation needs people, is the role that the xMatters product plays. And it doesn't really matter what's going on at the infrastructure tiers or anywhere else. Really the important stuff comes into play when your end users start to experience problems. And that's why New Relic is such an important part of that particular application stack. Doesn't really matter what's happening anywhere. That's really where you want to observe what the impact really is. And once you have that, engaging people very quickly to resolve that becomes important, which is, of course, the role that xMatters plays. And within the Atlassian suite, you kind of heard there was a whole bunch of Atlassian products in play there, everything from JIRA to Hipchat to Confluence and soon Statuspage as well. All those places are really where the work happens. That's where you actually track all the activities. You're able to connect all the components together, and that really pulled together is what builds the overall picture in being able to do this. And really, the key thing here is for this to work at enterprise scale for a company the size of Cox Automotive, you really need to have the ability to connect out all the tools that come into play, whether they're enterprise-wide standards or a specialized system that a particular team needs for their application component. They all have to be able to work together. But one thing that really doesn't change is going to be tracking the application experience with New Relic at the end of the day, or tracking the task and activity that everyone does, because you need company-wide visibility. That's where standardization comes into play, and wherever we need to engage someone, standardization in how they receive communication has to become standardized, so they're used to engaging in a certain manner and being pulled into the process where needed. So where there are service disruptions, whether they're day-to-day sorts of incidents or major incidents, you have much more rapid response. People are used to dealing with it and are able to put out the fires much more quickly. I think Dan does a great job of describing all the accomplishments, but I would say it's actually even more humble than a humble brag in terms of the level that they've actually been able to do this at scale is very impressive. With that, I'll pass the mic over to Devin.
Thank you. It's so great to see a customer taking full advantage of New Relic. And as you've heard, Daniel mentioned that New Relic played a major role in addressing those three core challenges from the start of the presentation, which was lack of visibility, the need to do more faster, and a small DevOps team that needed greater leverage. So specifically for Dealertrack, and actually for any DevOps initiative, we've found that a unifying force is data. I mean, it's somewhat obvious, but our digital intelligence platform gives teams the data across their application stack to help them move faster with confidence, obviously respond to incidents in an intelligent way, as we saw today, and demonstrate measurable results for the organization. And one of the features of the platform that was highlighted was our alerting capability. And we've made significant improvements to that capability over the last 6 months. And some of the philosophies that have underpinned those improvements are this idea of full stack alerting. So being able to be alerted from any part of your stack is critical, providing context, and also the flexibility and ability to integrate with your workflow, which obviously was a big theme in this presentation. The ability to integrate those alerts into existing workflows was paramount in how we delivered updates to our alerting product. So with that, we're going to move into the questions section of the presentation. You can ask questions in the GoToWebinar panel. And I actually have a few questions, which is great. A lot of them are for Daniel. So Daniel, the first one that I see here is, how do you keep synthetic tests up to date as the product underlying them change and evolve? Are those tests running against dev or staging environments to provide an early warning of breakage?
You know, that's a great question. So currently, our team manages those synthetic checks, and when we're aware, because we also have ties into the release management team, when new product will be rolled out or new features will be rolled out, we update it. However, you know, we've thought about this internally as well, and our goal is to make these synthetic checks part of the code deployment process, right? So as an application team, when I'm developing a new feature for my product, as part of that rollout, I would build synthetic checks starting in dev and work my way up. And as I'm promoting my code through the environments, I would also, as part of that code, promote my synthetic checks through the environment as well. Our goal is to always be as self-service as possible.
Fantastic. Thanks, Daniel. Another question. How do you prevent Hipchat from becoming too noisy for members of your team?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. There are features where you can kind of turn up or turn down the noisiness of Hipchat, if you will. And so, you know, we use that, you know, on a per user basis, depending on what your threshold for noise is.
And this is Mike, if I could, from Atlassian, if I could add on to that. So and that was all great points what Dan mentioned, how you can kind of control, you know, what type of alert you're going to get from different rooms. And then the other thing, that when we developed a new API called Hipchat Connect, we did that with always in mind having the notion of really trying to improve the signal to noise ratio. You know, our view with chat is when you get those notifications, they need to be meaningful. A chat tool's value is not derived by how many times it pings you during the day and distracts you from your work. The value of the chat tool is about how many times does it put relevant information from your team in front of you so that you can take action. And that's what we've tried to do very well with Hipchat Connect.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. You know, we have, you know, our monitoring tools integrated with Hipchat to send alerts into rooms. And we purposely have rooms dedicated for each tool, because what we don't want to do is, say, flood the EOC or NOC room itself with a bunch of alerts that may or may not be actionable. So we always try to have separate rooms that are integrated with our monitoring tools, and from those rooms maybe cull the critical and, you know, what we know as completely actionable alerts to put them into the NOC room itself.
Great, thank you. And you may have addressed this, but it's kind of a follow-up question. So what type of xMatters communications can be triggered from directly within Hipchat? Can you create an incident? Are there other examples of being able to trigger the xMatters communication inside Hipchat?
That's a good question. That's what we're looking into now. It's one of our goals for this year. What the impetus behind what we're trying to do is just simply saying, you know, there's not a major incident going on. Maybe there's just, I've received an alert. I'm in the EOC, and I know that the production support team needs to look at the issue, right? Instead of me having to go into xMatters and use the tool itself, if I'm already in the Hipchat room, I'd like to be able to just reach out to that team using Hipchat and target the group directly into xMatters. So that's what we're looking to do.
So Sabas, I'll add on to that. So what we see other customers do, as Dan's describing, that's really kind of the goal of building any sort of chat ops oriented workflow, is that you turn in this case Hipchat really into your console. So for all of your applications, you make the features available directly from that console. So if you imagine xMatters retains information about who to contact on any given team or based on any given property, you'd make that available in the chat platform itself, so you don't have to switch to another user interface. But also that really significantly reduces the training burden as new people join teams or switch roles. They all are used to kind of interacting with the chat platform to pull information in. So it can be both for lookup purposes. So if I want to look up who currently manages the authentication service because I need some help to figure out something there, it can just be a lookup that returns the information about that person. Or you can actively trigger engagement as well to say, hey, I need help in this particular Hipchat war room that we set up from someone who's on the identity side of this application, and you're able to simply issue the command and focus on your task. They get contacted and pulled right into the Hipchat room as well. So those are all common sorts of use cases that we see with Hipchat and xMatters.
So keeping the Hipchat theme going, you mentioned auto creation of Hipchat rooms to resolve issues. How do you manage the proliferation of Hipchat rooms? Do you cull them at times?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, when the incident's over, we just close it, right? So when a specific major incident is done, we just close the room, because now we have the information captured already. It's no longer needed.
Great. Next question. How do the software engineering teams inform you of new products that require new or different monitoring and alerts? Do you have access to, do they have access to the monitoring tools themselves? And are they responsible for setting them up themselves, or do they communicate the changes to you and you have to then coordinate implementation of monitoring with their product release?
I would say yes to all. You know, the previous model was that we would work with all the different teams and set up all the monitoring that they needed. As those teams began to grow and our team did not, we found that that wasn't going to scale. So that's when we started to really take more of a self-service mentality. And so we are opening up all those tools to our software engineering team. You know, I referenced synthetics earlier, and you know, creating synthetic checks being created by the software engineering team as part of the code deployment process. You know, we're in the process of moving all of our monitoring checks into a repository, so that anybody can do a pull request, modify a check, or add a new check, have a code reviewed as part of the normal process, checked in, and create their own monitoring checks. Additionally, we serve in a consultative role, so we have you know, like what we call SREs, or site reliability engineers, embedded with the various software teams to understand what their needs are from a monitoring perspective, and to be, you know, in those discussions when they're first talking about rolling out new features or applications.
Awesome. Thanks, Daniel. Next question. How often are you deploying new code to production, and how are you doing that? All or nothing, canary deployments?
Right. So we have a couple different so we have like a legacy product, and we have the next generation of that same product, and the method and frequency in which the updates are made are different, but typically we're on a bi-weekly change control schedule. I'm sorry, bi-monthly. So we only roll out changes really 4 times a month total amongst both of those products. But of course, there are always hot patches, hot fixes, and all kinds of things that need to go in upon request. So we have process around how we do that as well.
Thanks. How long did it take? I know you mentioned it was. So the question is, how long did it take Dealertrack to get to the point where it is now?
Wow. Longer than I've been here. But no, we in the past, the responsibility of platform building was not assigned to a specific team. So I would say over the last 2.5 years is really when we started to put an emphasis on a team dedicated to just building out the self-service platform for everyone. So it's been about a 2.5-year process to where we are now.
That's great. Or thank you. So the next question, in case the whole system or site is down, do you release any sort of notification to your clients?
We do. But you know, we do that via kind of a splash page that they would get when trying to log into the site. That's how we make our customers aware right now. Right now, you know, I referenced, you know, status page IO earlier. For our specific use case, we're not targeting customers, external customers at first. It would be more of an internal customer notification tool.
I know this was sort of it was a big theme in the presentation, but next question is like, how do the tools outlined help with deployment questions or issues? I guess this is like very specific to deploying a new change.
Sure. So we have a hook in our code deployment tool that when new code is deployed, it sends a little hook to New Relic, and then when you're in New Relic, you can see, via like a marker on the graphs, what your performance was before and after the deployment. So it makes it pretty easy to see the impact of the changes you're making.
Great. A question here around New Relic Alerts. What's coming up for New Relic Alerts? I can take that one. One of the things that we previewed in November as part of our new alerting is 4 new features. So dynamic targeting for dynamic infrastructure, NRQL alerting, which is incredibly powerful, the ability to build alerts off our query language, JVM alerting for Java apps, and baseline alerts. And all these features are actually being pretty heavily used in the preview in our customer base. We have a large number of customers already using them. Most recently, we actually announced the general availability of JVM alerting. And these other features we hope should be coming up shortly, but those are sort of the 4 big features in terms of New Relic alerting that we think are going to be incredibly powerful for our customers and especially for these sorts of DevOps initiatives. Let's see, the next question. What went into the company choosing a tool like xMatters over other communication tools in the market?
Another good question. We looked at a number of tools, and what we liked about xMatters was its ability to not only, it was just very versatile in the type of communications it could do. It wasn't just simply, a tool that could receive alerts and call out to a team to respond to an alert. That was certainly one of our needs. But we really had another need with the major incident notification that I referenced in the presentation, where we had, it was just a very tedious process whenever we had a major incident to get everyone on and to keep all that information updated. And the way xMatters can handle those on-call rotations and escalations and groups and subscriptions, going into subscriptions, it's great that users can self-subscribe themselves to things they care about. So we don't have to worry about anymore, add me to this notification, take me off of that notification. Through the subscription model, users can pick and choose what they're notified of, and those were really attractive features to us.
Great, thanks, Daniel. So next question, what if I have other tools that our team is using? Are there other ways we can automate the process? So maybe a question for Mike.
Yeah. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. What if I have other tools that my team is using? Are there other ways we can automate the process?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about all of the Atlassian products is they're all wrapped with our API, and we refer to that globally as Atlassian Connect. So, you have a host of options. I think there's over 2,000 plus integrations in the Atlassian marketplace. So the odds are that the integration that you need may already be there, or the odds are that if it's not, with the great APIs that we have, and then obviously other great platforms have as well, you're going to be able to tie those 2 things or 3 things together in a powerful way. I mean, and really what Dan and his team did at Cox Automotive before xMatters and Atlassian got together is a testament to that. They had a need, and they did it, and they did it independently. It's a great example of why it's important to have great APIs.
Daniel, last question I can see. How do you leverage, so I know you went into this, but maybe a little bit more color, how do you leverage the New Relic suite of tools in your day-to-day DevOps practice?
So it's not just, necessarily my team who's doing that. We have, our entire software engineering team is in New Relic continuously in pre-production environments to see how their code is performing and where improvements need to be made. Our PA team, when they run load tests, they see the impact of those load tests within, New Relic every day. Every time there's an alert that the EOC receives, whether it be from New Relic or another monitoring tool, they're diving into New Relic to see what they can see from an application perspective. So all I can say is that we've established it now as habit that when there is some type of issue or something you want to know about how the application is performing, you go into New Relic.
Cool. Next question, late-breaking question. How do you capture incident information from Hipchat to JIRA?
I don't know the technical part behind it. I wasn't responsible for building it, but that's one I could follow up on and get back to you on that if that's okay.
And this is Mike. I can add in that there is a new integration that connects JIRA and Hipchat, and there's also one that connects Confluence and Hipchat as well, which are all pretty new things within the last month or so that our team has put out.
Great. Thank you guys all for speaking today. Appreciate everyone joining the call. Be sure to check out these different links for New Relic, Atlassian, and xMatters. We'll also be sending a link to the recording shortly after the presentation with these links as well. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.